It's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, March the 21st, 2023. I call this regular meeting of the Kingville Independent School District to order. We'll have roll call. Joe Morales. Here. Martin Chapa. Here. David Garcia. Present. Joseph Ruiz. Here. James Gluting. Here. Delma Salinas. Here. Brian Kudval is here. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present, and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with Government Code Chapter 551, the State of Texas Open Meetings Act. We move now to the moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I look at Texas flag, I like allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one nation.
All right, this meeting is being live video streamed, and we move now to item number 4, which is the adoption of the agenda. But before I entertain a motion to adopt, we've had an unexpected medical emergency from our HR director, and administration would ask that we remove item 8A, B, and C, and item 9A, B, and C. We will have a discussion about the process under the closed session, but without the HR director here to present those contract renewals, we have time, so we'd like to push that to a meeting that she can be present. With that, do I have a motion to adopt that revised agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the revised agenda.
Motion made by Ms. Salinas,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Ruiz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item number 5, public participation. Ms. Pettis, do we have anyone that wishes to address the board?
Yes, sir. Elizabeth Ramos, parent, topics are EDU partners / agenda / employees.
All right, this time, Ms. Ramos.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, Board of Trustees. I was going to talk a little bit about employees, so I'm just going ahead and touch on that a little bit. I'm going to do it next time. Took it off the agenda. I just want to first off start by talking about the update with the education employment partners. You guys sit here at the end of the calendar month of March, and it's finally on the agenda. The MOU was changed around slightly, and an agreement was made between you and the company that there would be updates to this information with the presentation to the board in January. I really hope either the employment partners or KISD has a good presentation on the results of the agreement that I can hear and understand tonight. What bothers me is it's 2 months late, and it's not the only thing on the agenda that has been late in a presentation to the board in the past 6 months. As I recall, I thought it was the best interest that the Board of Trustees agree to hiring a contractor to help staff at KISD for a whopping $75,000 a year, with the funds, also with funds that go towards employment expenses, to have an advisor help or tag along with the agency, that they should make sure that the taxpayers are getting the bang for their buck when it comes to CCMR rating, and seniors help applying colleges and trade schools or helping find employment. When I say help staff, I mean that, instead of helping kids, because this is something our staff or KIC employee that is paid less can do for our kids. It's been done for dozens and dozens of years. What I would really like to see is that money redirected to elementary and middle school aides to help teachers and students, especially in the special education arena. That's where you need more people, as people are drowning in responsibilities. A sped aid salary is up to $24,000 a year. You can hire 3 aides to help spend the same money given to this agency that you hired. Because someone at KISD can't do their job, or the district is doing a poor job of hiring for these positions. Think about that when you are looking at all the names of employees that are about to get renewed tonight or in the future. Think about their mental sanity. The administration office is helping the higher ups do their jobs, but not the feeder employees at the bottom who spend more time with more of our kids every day than they do. When you look at the list of employees, ask yourself, how many contractors does the district have? How many agencies help to do the district's job? How many temps? How many other people come into the district that don't live here to provide services? Some that many people in Kingsville can do that aren't listed on that list. Also, see who these people are helping, because they are not helping any of the teachers that I know of. Speaking of agenda items, there seems to be one missing tonight. I'm unaware if there will be another meeting in March, that KISD should have on the agenda the interlocal agreement with Ricardo ISD tonight. Yet another business item being thrown at the board of trustees last minute, so they are forced to hurry through a legally binding contract and are pressured into saying yes. This should not be occurring since there was a rough draft calendar given to all board members for this specific item. You all need to start communicating with each other. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. We move now to item number 6, communication from administration. Item 6A is the Education to Employment Partners Program update. This can be found on page 3 of our packet. Dr. Sandoval.
Good evening, board. Thank you, board president Kupal, board trustees, and Dr. Pettis. Tonight, we do have Mr. Jeff West from Education to Employment that is here to present on an update on the progress that we've made at the high school regarding regarding the progress and the support that they've been giving our high school campus. So without further ado, I'm going to let Mr. West lead the conversation.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight? Happy Tuesday. As Dr. Sandoval mentioned, my name is Jeff West. Serve as the Executive Director for Education to Employment Partners. Really grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight and give you an update on the progress of our post-secondary success program. Just want to acknowledge that 2 of our team members are here with me. Mr. Josh Sosa, who is our Program Director for Post-Secondary Success Programs, and also Mr. Miguel Aguilar, who is your post-secondary success advisor, is working directly with our students here at HMK High School. And so the purpose of the conversation here today is really just to update you on the progress, also answer any questions that you have about the work that we're doing, the goals, the focus, the future. I can tell you it's been a tremendous success. It's been a joy working with the folks at the high school, Dr. Sandoval, Dr. Bettis. Thank you for entrusting us with this opportunity, and it's been a real joy. I can tell you that some of the pictures I see, some of the events that we've been able to take our students to have been phenomenal, and there are opportunities that wouldn't be available to HMK High School if it wasn't for this program and for the support of you, our trustees. So I want to jump right into data. And data is always the decision maker, right? We want to look at the specific data that drives our program. As many of you remember, we were contracted to do this work. At the end of 22, we worked a little bit with the class of 22, but primarily the class of 2023. And so we immediately, once we were awarded the contract, we deployed a experienced, dedicated advisor to the high school to work directly with your seniors and begin to work with some juniors as the spring semester approaches. That's Mr. Aguilar. Got extensive experience in higher ed, in community college, in post-secondary education, and he's doing a great job, as you'll see as the data will bear out. I want to share with you that the focus of our post-secondary success advisor is not just to support staff, it's work directly with students, work directly with families to ensure that all HMK high school students that are graduating from the high school have a post-secondary plan for life after high school. That's so important to understand. The post-secondary plan leading to success and whatever it is they want to do, that's a critical component of our program. And as you'll see, the data shows that we're moving in the right direction. We are excited about the future, and I just want to give you an update on that today. So there's two sets of data that I want to look at with you, if you don't mind. One is baseline and one is goals, and then we'll look at actual data that shows our progress today. So when we talk about baseline data, there's a lot of metrics that in and of themselves, trustees, don't mean much, if you understand what I mean. An individual data metric doesn't mean much by itself. But when put together over the course of an entire year, these data metrics have been proven to increase post-secondary enrollment outcomes. And remember, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to help Kingsville ISD students who are graduating have a post-secondary plan and get more post-secondary enrollment opportunities in their hands, whether it be college, whether it be career, whether it be military. But also what we're trying to do is help the district unlock more outcome bonus funding. That it was a legislative agenda, House Bill 3, that's what caused the FAFSA to be mandatory, also provided for outcome bonus funding to come back to the district. Right now, Kingsville is unlocking a total of 0% potential outcome bonus funding. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want you to understand that that's the purpose of our program, is to help you generate a sustainable revenue stream for this type of work in the future. So let's look at some of the metrics. So the advising metrics that you see on the top, those are internal E2E metrics. One-on-one meetings with advisors, first semester, second semester, continuous through the program, post-secondary applications completed, parent engagement, segmentation, graduating with a post-secondary plan. Those are all things that we don't have a baseline for, but those are all part of our program, and those are very important because that leads to success after high school. When you look at the second set of data metrics, FAFSA completion, post-secondary enrollment, and TSIA met, those are the critical data metrics that unlock House Bill 3 outcome bonus funding. And we've seen that if we can increase FAFSA completion percentage, if we can increase post-secondary enrollment, and of those that are enrolled show that they met TSIA, then you'll see on the next slide that we'll be able to help you unlock more bonus funding. So we do have a baseline for 2021. The FAFSA completion rate for the class of 2021 was 51.9%. The post-secondary, and actually that was above the state average. State average is about 50% for that year. Post-secondary enrollments, 39%, TSIA met 36%, which was a tremendous increase over the previous 2 years. So moving in the right direction before we came, but we are working to increase that, as I'll show on the next slide. So when we think about program goals, understand that E2E is setting measurable and attainable goals, right? We don't want to set goals that are not attainable. And so what we're doing is hoping to increase over baseline. And for the internal metrics up top, those are things that we do regularly. We have 100% meetings with advisor, 60% post-secondary application, 60%, 60% post-parent engagement, and then 100% segmentation. So those are just first year program goal numbers. I want to draw your attention to the three below that under class of 2023, our FAFSA, post-secondary enrollment, and TSI net. So understand that based on the baseline, where we were 59% FAFSA completed and 39% enrollment and about 32% TSI met, 36% TSI met. Our goals for this class is to be 80% completed with the FAFSA, 45% enrolled, and then out of that 45%, 50% meet TSIA. But still not where we want to be. But if we can meet those goals, which I believe we will, because I'll show you the numbers right now, that will unlock $74,000 in outcome bonus. That's a significant increase over last year. Understand the potential in outcome bonus funding. And I was talking to Dr. Sandoval and Dr. Perez about this. If 100% of your students met HB3 criteria, the district could unlock $940,000. Now, realistically, 100% aren't going to meet HB3 criteria, right? But if we can get to 50% of that, think about that revenue stream. 55% of that money has to be spent on CCMR activities. But the other 45%, Dr. Perez, is free money to the district. It's a revenue stream that's not attached to any spending category and can be used for any reason and for any discretion. And so when we think about where we're at and where we want to be, think about next year. If we increase over baseline and then over our goals, so let's say we increase to 48% enrolled and 60% met next year, that'll unlock $134,000. You see where we're going? So we increase exponentially over baseline, strategically and targeted, and we'll continue to increase outcome bonus funding. But at the end of the day, it's not just about the money. Think about more kids going to post-secondary education, more opportunities, just a great day at HM King if we continue this work together. So where are we at today? I know you're all interested, right? Talked about our baseline, talked about where we want to be. Mr. Aguilar deserves all the credit here. Miguel, where you at? Good job, sir. No, you don't have to get it. I just wanted to shout out. Mr. Aguilar deserves all the credit here. He's working directly with the campus principal and college counselor over there, Mrs. Lopez, and they're doing a great job together. So 99.4%, this is as of the fall semester. 99.4% of your students had a one-on-one meeting with Mr. Aguilar to establish a post-secondary plan. Look at parent engagement. This is a really good number here. 82.6% of your parents have been engaged in a meaningful conversation regarding post-secondary success or post-secondary enrollment. This is not a, hey, my name is Miguel, just wanted to say hi conversation. This is a meaningful conversation regarding their son or their daughter's future or some sort of post-secondary conversation. That's a great number, and that meets our goal of 60% and exceeds exponentially. So look at the FAFSA completion number. So as of the fall semester in December, we were 71.3%. I'm happy to report that as of this morning, Mr. Aguilar has taken that number to 85.1%. So we are 85% FAFSA completed for this year. That's a tremendous win considering the baseline for 21 was 59%. So another interesting metric that I really enjoy, and Mr. Aguilar, good job here too, is the post-secondary program applications. So our goal was 65% applied to a post-secondary program. We want 65% of your students to apply to some sort of post-secondary program. As of December, we were 71.8% of your students had applied. As of this morning, 84.7% of your students, our students here at HM King, have applied to a post-secondary program. That's pretty impressive. I want to show a different metric a little later on. How many of that 80% have actually been accepted? Because we track that number as well. And that's a mind-blowing number too. So Richard Branson says opportunities like buses, there are always another one coming. And that's the message we share with your students, that there are opportunities. If we'll do the FAFSA, we'll apply. If we'll have a plan in place, there are opportunities for students. Look at the bottom left-hand number. That number is 73.9 as of today. That represents the number of students out of that 80% or that 78% who have been accepted to a post-secondary institution. Now, a lot of those are Coastal Bay College, Delmar College, Craft Center. So that represents a potential for a lot of students who didn't think that they had an opportunity to do post-secondary education to take that next step and to begin that journey. And it's through simple one-on-one advising and the work that Mr. Aguilar and Mr. Toast are doing on the ground. I also want to show that $428,000 worth of aid has been earned so far. Yes, we do track that as well. So that's institutional aid, that's Pell Grants, that's scholarships. That number continues to rise. I think I saw an update this morning. It's like 500,000. It's going up there, and we're documenting that just to show how much money is available to your students. So I wanted to share this just because this is another example of data that we collect. This is a pathway segmentation screen. So each one of your students is segmented, right? So we have a conversation with them, we segment them to kind of indicate what the strategy is going to be with them. 161 students. The bottom, that dark area represents 4-year bound students. Interesting that 6%, almost 7% of your students here are going to the military, right? Interested in the military. And we have a little bit of an undecided population that we're working on, but there's a good spread of career, workforce, 2-year and 4-year. And it's interesting because what we do with each one of these segments, the segments are fluid, you can imagine. We begin the year, 2-year, then end the workforce, there's a segment, right? But what we do is strategically deploy resources and partners from the community that work with E2E across the region to come and speak to these students, to talk to them specifically about the areas that they're in. So for example, if we have a military recruiter coming to campus, the 4-year students aren't necessarily invited to that presentation. They can come if they want, but we're focused on the military students first, and vice versa with the college recruiters as well. It's a strategy, so it's segment based on strategy and based on helping students understand what their possibilities are. Just as I close, a couple of highlights here. There's some presidential scholarship winners. Now, I can't take credit for that. Kids did that all on their own, right? But I want to document that those opportunities are available to them, and they did receive those presidential scholarships. We also had a couple of senior nights, parent night. We did a college trip to Texas A&M University in Kingsville with all the other schools that we support in the region. It was exciting. It was an event just for them. It was nobody else was there, just each of these schools, and that was a great opportunity for them. And so I just want to say in closing that this program has been a success so far. And at the end of the day, we won't know for sure until the students enroll, right? Which is why we work through the summer to prevent summer melt. And also until we see TEA release the outcome bonus funding. But the projections are promising. The work we're doing on the ground is exciting, and it wouldn't be possible without your support. So trustees, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving us a chance to work with your students. And I hope you see that the program is working, and we hope to continue this relationship in the future. Our team on the ground, well, Dana is not here, but she is the glue that holds us together. She's our program support specialist. And Josh and Mr. Aguilar are both here. So I'm happy to entertain any questions, answer any questions you have. But again, thank you for the opportunity. Glad to be here tonight.
Question, sir. I know you did mention that up to this point, 85.1 of our students have used process. What is the state average
About 51%.
right now?
Yes, ma'am. It has increased last few years, ma'am, just because of the HD3 mandate for graduation. But our districts, the ones that we serve across the region, we serve 14 other school districts, 6 other school districts and 14 campuses, so we use KISD as well. But by far and away, the coastal band region has a much higher FAFSA completion rate than the rest of the state. And that's not just because of us, it's because we have great partners as well. But the state average is about 50, 51, 52%.
Okay, another thing you did mention or on your handout, it is you have 73.3% of the students have been accepted to post-secondary. That equals to how many students?
So we've got 160 students. So do some quick math. 50% is 80 students. So roughly around 100 to 120 students without a calculator. We've got the detail breakdown in our Salesforce system. So I could provide you. But whatever 73% of 160 is, I believe it's 160, not 161.
It's about 118.
Hello, I was close. I was close. So about 120, or between 110 and 120. I can do some quick math in my head, but I can get close usually. But yes, ma'am, so that equals 120 students. And again, you don't have to put an asterisk by it, but it's not an asterisk that is a true asterisk. A lot of students don't apply, period, right? Have not in the past traditionally. So we encourage them to apply to our local institutions, Craft Training Center, Coastal Bend College, Del Mar College, and those schools give automatic acceptance. But I can't tell you the success stories we've seen where students get the acceptance letter from Del Mar or the confetti that comes on the computer and they begin to cry because they never thought it would be possible for them to go to college. That's an experience that we take for granted because we know when we're educated. But when we say they're accepted, not all of them are going to local institutions. We've got acceptances at a lot of other colleges across the state and country. But yes, man, that is it's a win. We were expecting to be a little bit lower than that, so we're ahead of the game there.
So in order to unlock the 74,000 that you mentioned, what do we have to hit?
Great question. So the way that the outcome bonus funding works, it's not so CTMR for accountability, which counts towards your rating, is not the same as CTMR outcome bonus funding. There's a different criteria. So someone who gets a student who gets a point on the accountability side doesn't necessarily translate to outcome bonus dollars. There's 2 requirements. Number 1, the student has to enroll in the 10th day of instruction of the fall semester immediately after graduation. So if they take the fall off and they enroll in the spring, that's great. They go to college, we're happy for them, but we don't get outcome bonus funding. So that's why we work in the summer, prevent summer melt, get them enrolled. But also that same student has to meet TSIA criteria. They either have to pass TSIA or they have to meet SAT or ACT requirements for TSIA by scoring a minimum of on each side. So that's where the districts are not unlocking the bonus funding, is making sure that the students who are going to college don't have to take any developmental courses. They go right in, they're college ready, they've met TSIA, and TEA is rewarding it because of the legislature, because of HD3, rewarding districts for preparing students.
So after the 10th day, we'll know like how much money it is.
Yes, ma'am, and actually part of the program, so the contract, exactly, but part of the program is that we have an account with National Student Clearinghouse. So what we do is in October and November timeframes, we'll pull an NSC report for you. So I can tell Dr. Pettis and Dr. Sandoval, we have an exact number of how many students enrolled. Now we go back and check how many of that list have met TSIA, and I can calculate your outcome bonus probably within $10.
Good.
Yes, ma'am. It's a PA makes it a complicated calculation.
We want to hit the 900, what was it?
Yes, ma'am, 900,000, 900,000 is the projected for class of 2026 based on the cohort. I think the projection as it stands right now, based on enrollment, is about 850,000.
Mr. West, this is just what has been, for those who have been accepted, post-secondary as of right now.
Yes, sir. No, we're not done yet.
We're not done
Yes,
yet.
sir, absolutely.
Okay, second point is, I was the one that voted first no.
Yes, sir.
At the beginning.
I remember.
But we came back that next week though.
Yes, sir.
I changed my mind. Good job. Thank you very much for doing the work you do for us.
To all the credit is to Mr. Sosa and Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Aguilar doing the work on the grant. And Mr. Sosa, not doing that. And I wanted to cross the region, so they're doing a great job. Thank you, guys.
Mr. West, I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Under your data verification,
Yes, sir.
it says enrollment data is validated by the PTA,
Correct. Yes, sir.
but there's no enrollment verification for current students. Is that because it hasn't come out yet?
Correct, yes, sir. Yeah, we use so for these three criteria, which is why the outcome bonus funding calculation is so complicated, and it's 2 years lag. So the class of 23, we won't see the outcome bonus in the summary of finance until January of 25 as the preliminary. So what we do is we combine data sets. So this one is the taper report, and the taper report hasn't been released for the class of 22 yet.
Okay,
It's coming, it was supposed to be out in January.
and I'm looking at this because right now it says the class of 23 has 162% and went down 40 since last year.
Yes, sir.
So I'm asking, where do your numbers come from and what is the accuracy of your numbers in general?
There's always a plus minus, but our numbers are very accurate. I'd say plus minus, maybe plus minus 5 on either side. So for example, the summary of finance and the taper report, they come out, but because the clearinghouse data is delayed, sometimes the enrollment data gets delayed from the coordinating board. So that's a number that kind of fluctuates depending on when NFC data is released to the coordinating board. And as we all know, taper is one of the reports that you got to kind of scroll through and figure out. There's a final and preliminary, just like the summary of finance. So we try to use the best data we can, and these are so for FAFSA it's pretty clear. FSA data is clean, but for TSIA Met, it's a lot of internal data and it's a lot of researching the TDA.
I'm just using your numbers to verify other things. I appreciate it.
I'd say these numbers here, these three in particular, plus minus 5%.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I think one of the biggest benefits of this program is that this area's been spread out in the past between a number of people, and this allows a concentrated effort by one person and allows those people to do the other aspects of their job that are so terribly important. One of the other benefits is that at least now we do have a baseline and we are tracking data that we had not been tracking in the past. The third one, I think, as it comes out later on the whole TISA, it will help us know areas of concentration that perhaps we need to focus on or specialize on with some of these graduating people.
Yes, sir.
The one question I do have, and it may be Mr. Aguilar that's better able to answer this, has there been any pushback? What's been the most difficult part of getting to the level that he's at right now?
That's a great question. And I definitely would defer to him on that. I can tell you the pushback in general, across other districts, but here specifically, he's the best candidate.
All right, thanks, yeah, board, good evening. So as far as pushback, I wouldn't say so much pushback as far as like the staff or administration per se. I think it would more come down to the student level as far as servicing and spreading our message as far as like our goals and objectives that we'd like to meet as a whole. And more of the benefits of our program and what we hope to accomplish for them and kind of share the long-term vision as far as, kind of help them see and gain a broader perspective on things as far as more of a narrow approach, as far as get your mind out of social media. You know, what do you hope to realistically accomplish for yourself, you know? So whenever I meet with all my students, one-on-one, I tend to have that just heart-to-heart conversation, just to see what their head is at. Some of them are just really sporadic, they're all over the place. So it's just kind of hone them in and have that one-on-one. So I think the pushback is not really with just the people I work with on a daily basis, my peers, it's just more with the students. It's more of, you know, sir, I just want to be like a social media star. It's like, well, you know, let's be a little more realistic. You know, what step are you taking to be on that level? You know, most of them, it's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm like, okay, well, let's bring it out here. Let's explore other interests, you know, but everything else is going great.
How's your parents' support been?
You know, most of the parents are great. You're always gonna have that small group that's hesitant. They don't want to hear it. You know, they're just trying to get their child out of high school. You know, and as the most I can do is just encourage and educate. You know, and I try to do that, whether I'm calling or texting, just to give them updates and stuff like that. But you're always gonna have that small population that they just don't want to hear it. They don't want to know anything about it. They just want to get their children in and out of school as quick as possible.
Well, personally, I thank you, and I think the whole board thanks you for the work that you've done. I'm sure there's been a little bit of it's too good to be true. Some of the parents and some of the kids thinking that you know, we're really here helping them along the way. But regardless of the cost, as you said, the benefit of helping these students know that there is life after high school and having a plan, I think is something that goes a long way. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Yeah, I want just one quick question or comment. Just like to say that as a father of a senior, definitely I know directly the impact that you've made. So, you know, there's been tremendous strides here, but just one question, just so that everyone understands the impact of that 85% FAFSA completion rate. How many do you all track the opt-outs of actual parents that have indicated they want to opt out, which they do have that option?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what those numbers are?
Yes, can I share that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
We only have
Share and then I'll share what we do specifically to try to prevent those.
So as of right now, we only have one student that is opted out of completing their FAFSA. And most of the, up to the 85 percentile, most of them have completed before the January 15th deadline for FAFSA. So that's a big win for us, you know, I mean, you know this as well,
Right.
that it's important to get that before that deadline to make sure, you know, for funding and so forth. So I'm really proud of the kids, you know, and coming back to the spring term, you know, I feel like a lot of them have woken up to the point like, sir, I need to get serious. We only got a few months. So I feel that there's a transitional period with a lot of our students as far as like, sir, graduation is coming. You know, there's something gonna happen. That switch quickly appeared. But yes, to answer your question, as far as tracking, like I'll let Jeff touch base on that, but as right now, we only have one student that's chosen top now.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, last question. Last question. Well, I think it's last one. I know you want 100% or 99%, right?
Oh, yeah, the 100% is always a goal.
Yes. So just if you could share your strategies for this last 20% that you have to do.
So we're having another parent night coming up on April 3rd. So I'm hoping to capture most of the parents between now and then. I'm going to be doing a lot of follow-ups, a lot of phone calls, a lot of messaging. So I'm hoping to capture more of those. What I've done to accomplish the 80%, to be quite honest, is a lot of phone calls, a lot of follow-ups with the parents. So I'm going to continue doing that process. And what I normally do is I have conversations with the kids also, just to see, because a lot of our students, the last percentile, they're dealing with a lot of personal issues, or parents haven't done taxes and so forth. There's always something. So I try to get that out of the kids just to see what's going on at home, and then I'll follow up with parents and have that one-on-one conversation. Just to find the root of the issue of why things aren't getting done, and just try to work on them one-on-one.
You know, I also want to say is that the help that this does towards our counselors. You know, our counselors, to have that done before the deadline, I think is a great job that y'all are doing. So I know that our counselors probably do appreciate that work as well. So thank you for doing that.
I just want to add, Miguel was talking about the strategy, and Mr. Chapa, you were talking about strategy. So remember that part of the program is our Salesforce data management system. which allows us to not only pull reports of who's completed, who's not, but also very seamlessly email and text those people directly from our Salesforce system. So those students are very accessible. We can pull a report in 2 or 3 clicks to show us exactly what's lacking in all of these categories that you see. So part of the program, and it just makes it easy on Mr. Aguilar to really streamline the strategy and the outreach process.
Any other questions? If not, Mr. West, thank you for your presentation and for the job that your team is doing for us.
And I said it once, I'll say it again. Thank you, trustees, for giving us the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Perez and Dr. Sandoval, for entrusting us with your students. A great evening. Thank you.
All right, board, we'll move now to item 6B, attendance truancy update. This can be found on pages 19 to 31 of our packet. Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Dr. Perez. Thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you for letting me present to you. We're gonna go over some things that have helped us in work in attendance, incentives, some data. And but first of all, I want to go over just what a compulsory law is. And of course, the state of Texas requires that children who are at least 6 years old through their 19th birthday attend school. Some people don't know this. Some people don't know the law. Some people don't know that you have to be in school. Some people, when they want to withdraw, they'll say, well, we're going to just like, you can't. You can't. You have to be in school. So, educating the community is one of our main goals of our department, and getting the information out there to the parents. And of course, the parents, that's what you educate. You get to the high school, you want to educate both the parent and the students. You go to the second page, back in 2015, before 2015, truancy used to be more of a criminal offense. Yeah, you would take a student to court, and if they didn't pay the fine on time, they could literally end up in jail. And so of course, lawmakers got together and said, we need to stop this because they're between kids, having a record. And so 2015, they changed it to more of a civil case, of where they want you to talk to the students. Before anything else, you need to talk to them, you need to meet with them. And of course, they set up procedures where, send out letters. How many letters are you sending? What's your procedure? What's your TPM, truancy preventive measures? And which we'll go over here in a little bit. But of course, after 2015, it was more communicate with the students, communicate with the parents. And that's one thing that we tried to do here since September. One of the things, whenever you look at and again, we're kind of going into filing truancy charges. Whenever you look at a student and they've already surpassed the amount of absences they're allowed, you have to look at 4 things. If they are homeless, pregnant, foster care program, or a primary earner for the family. If they're one of those 4, you basically have to work with them. You have to provide any kind of assistance you can. You have to, encourage and motivate them to come to school, because you basically cannot touch these kids. A primary earner might be a student that, has a child, and guess what? They told him they kicked him out of the house and he has to work. And so we have to determine that. Of course, if somebody's homeless, that's those are just given problems that people have. So, you run into people that is moving from rental house to rent house. That's basically considered homeless, because they don't have a set place. They don't even know, they're probably rent jumping and that stuff. And of course, foster care and pregnant, the government says these are untouchable. You gotta work. One of the things when we pointed out was, when are we calling people in the morning? Are we getting them to school? As you can see, the elementaries, we started calling it 7:45. 7:45, the kids are not in class. We start calling the parents, why are your student's not here? Is he gonna come? And sometimes you do wake them up, and that's what we intend to do, wake them up. Sometimes what I hear from the attendance clerks is also that sometimes they're upset because it's like, well, I just dropped them off and Well, great, that's what we wanted. Right, but we set the morning procedures for elementary, we call it 7:45. For the junior high at Gillette, we start calling at 8:15, and for the high school, we start calling at 8:45. And again, trying to wake up the kids, hey, you need to be in class, you need to do this, and you know, sometimes alarms don't ring. And sometimes parents don't get up and we wake them up. So that's one thing we established early on. As we go to our flow chart of truancy, which is right in line with the Board of Administration regarding truancy, like that's what the judges want. Whenever they reach 3 absences, we send out a letter, our first warning letter. And that's right in line with what the state of Texas wants. Let them know early. Of course, sometimes they just rack up and we kind of have to catch up, but at three absences, we have to send, our procedures are to send a warning letter, first warning letter. On the 4th absence, we try and communicate with the student to come in, meet with the attendance clerks, meet with me, meet with the principal, but we gotta have some kind of communication, asking them what the problem is, and this is where you find out, hey, I'm working. You know, we're having trouble at home, we're not eating, and this is where you tend to find out, what's going on with the student. In the 5th absence, we send out the second warning. And of course, you're going, well, who letters are you gonna send out? Well, you know, we want to keep the kids and the parents, we want to make them alert that, you know, they're all breaking the rule, breaking the law. Again, we monitor them. At 7 absences, we send out our lost credit letter, and that's an important one. Because that usually, that during our first semester, that got a lot of phone calls to the school. Like, what do you mean lost of credit letter? My son lose credit? Yeah, if he doesn't fix his attendance, yes, if he doesn't start coming to school regularly. And then that got us going, okay, let's do credit recovery, that got us going into that. So those are the things that the flow chart created. At 7, the schools, they created a folder, they send a folder to truancy, and that's where we start making calls, we start making visits, this is where we communicate with the student, and this is where we determine if we're gonna file in court or not. So, and this is what was created in the first semester. And again, the next page is our flow chart is right in line with what the judges want, and this is from the judges from the state of Texas. This is right in line with what they want. Speak to the student at the 3rd or 4th absence. Start student truancy preventive measures. After that, keep communicating. Send a letter, call. And the truancy preventive measure is a letter, is a call, is meeting with them in the hallway. And I've told the principal, the attendance clerks, myself, it's like, if you meet with them in the hallway, write it down. We spoke to them. You know, we're always communicating about attendance and the importance of attendance. Couple of weeks ago, meeting with Dr. Pettis, she asked me for some kind of comparison to last year. From November 1st last year to the end of February last year to this year. And as you can see, there's a pretty good increase, especially at the high schools. We worked hard at communicating with the schools, with the principals, with the attendance clerks, with everybody. And we've had some incentives, which we'll go over here in a little bit. And as you can see, we had a 4.24 increase over last year at the same time. And like I said, we're pretty happy about that. It takes, you know, percentage points are huge when it comes to attendance. And we're on the right track, and we're gonna keep on building. Okay, excited for next year when we start the year and we attack it head on like day one. And like I said, so we're in a good spot right now. Of course, we want to be higher. So we've been places where we get in the elementaries, we're at 97% for the day. And those are great days that we have. Like I said, sometimes at the high school, we're at 90, 89, 90, and Gillette has also been in the high 80s. You know, but again, we're meeting with students, and we have I was talking to Ms. Williams today that the students have started receiving summons. So they started receiving summons for court, at those Gillette. So they will be, hopefully we can improve their attendance, and that is the last straw, going to court, of course, you know, they haven't done it in a while, but from what I'm hearing is they're scared. And of course, we don't want to threaten our kids or anything, but we gotta let them know that it's important for them to be in school and it's against the law, not to miss. Steps to improve attendance. One of the things we did was we created some tier lists, the top 10 worst kids are, that have the worst attendance, the next 10 and the third. Basically like a yellow, like a traffic light. Kids in red, we're going after them, we're meeting with them, we're trying to get them to school. Sometimes their kids are tough and they're just not used to, you know, being, you know, told to go to school. And so we address them that way. We have attendance contracts, which is TPMs, truancy preventive measures, and we have daily robocalls, which you know, parents have, I think, have called in and said, hey, we keep getting calls. You're going to keep getting calls if your son misses school, or your son or daughter misses school, and that's a good way for us to track. Also, as documentation, whenever we file, we go to court. It's like, you know, judge, we have these many calls. You know, we send out text messages and email, and you know, he blocked it, he answered, but they were there. You know, we have attendance committees at each school, so where they meet after, you know, they meet at the end of the 9 weeks, and they go over the students that need to be addressed. How are we going to address this? How are we going to do this? We had a community roundtable, which, you know, we had really good participation from the community. We had commissioners come in, we had judges come in. I think we had three judges come in, and we're excited about that. And what I wanted to do with that is let them know that we're serious about our attendance. You know, and one of the things I said on the news, like, why not be first in attendance? We don't just want to be first in football, basketball, and baseball. I want to be first in attendance. And that's our goal for, you know, going forward here and in the future. We had the community roundtable. One of the incentives we had early on was a pickle and popcorn, and that had great that was a great thing. But I think after that we had October move in, and it kind of killed us with the flu. It killed our momentum, and so it took us a while to recover from that. What we're doing right now is ice cream sandwiches, and it's really inexpensive. But each elementary or high school, because we did it at Gillette, it's the 6th graders at Gillette were 98% for a while.
So 6th grade had been at 90% since the first day of school, so they're 90% or higher. So they had given the incentive of the ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah. So we rewarded them that way, just to, you know, hopefully 7th and 8th grade will go, hey, but they get ice cream sandwiches, right? And so, you know, they did well. But the elementary, if Harold, the 3rd grade shows up in their perfect attendance, they get an ice cream sandwich. You know, and they love it. And you know, when we went and dropped off one of the sandwiches, you know, and exactly what I wanted to hear was, hey, everybody show up tomorrow. You know, so that it's working out that way. Our elementaries are doing well. Again, you know, their kids, they get sick. But again, also some of them have there have been some filings on some elementary parents. And so, but we're doing everything we can to improve there. As you can see, this was the advertisement for the community roundtable. I think it was great. I got some news. It got on the news. What I had wanted was, let's get attendance, you know, in the forefront of the community. It's important. You know, it's our community, it's our school, and that's why the purpose of the roundtable was get judges involved, get the police involved. I think the police wasn't able to get here because he was ill, but it got people talking. And again, our goal is to, you know, be first in attendance. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to be second or third. I want to be the first in attendance. And you know, what we're going to do that is working together, and everybody's working together. Attendance clerks, counselors, my staff, department, IT, everybody works together, and you know, we are going to hopefully get there. You know, and then we will keep moving forward. I'm excited about next year, starting the year, with the procedures that we have in place. And, you know, we're excited about that, so, if you have, and I'm excited about our data that says that we are up from last year at the same time. And again, usually in the spring, it's a little tougher, people tend to get a little lax. And we're just gonna have to keep pounding on the school and making calls and talk to the students.
Question.
Yes.
I know you spoke about the students that the untouchables, the ones that fall into the four categories, either there's a homeless, pregnant, whatever, foster care. How many kids fall into that category? Do you know more or less? And it's probably, I would think maybe, well, no, it's fall under any samples, but.
Well, right now, we don't have very many kids that are missing that month, but we do have, that are in that category. And I don't have that specific, but I can get it for you, Salinas. We had, whenever somebody says, we were at Gillette and somebody says, look, they're living in a hotel. That's, you know, but we've had few instances of that. And the reason I mention it is because I do need to make aware the principals and the attendance clerks that if they're in the situation, you can't do anything but help. We gotta work.
You got numbers like that.
Yes, well, and like I said, I'll get with the other and see where we're at.
And then another thing, I know the morning calls. Attendance is at 10 o'clock, right? Is it your 10 o'clock that the official attendance?
Yes, yeah, they
So they start calling, say 7:45, 8:15, 8:45. Do they call like for an hour to try to round up kids before 10 o'clock?
Well, they try until it's late, until they can't anymore, until it's,
Okay.
until it's, and yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me how many up to right now? Because I know that said you showed that those are as before we go to court. Do you know how many we've gone to court with?
As of today, we have 58, sir.
58 for this
Yes,
year?
yeah, where we have a complete file.
Okay.
You know, in meeting with the VA as well as the CA. It was, do you have this documentation? You have this documentation, and if not, we're not gonna, you know, it'll be tough to basically, I don't say prosecute, right, but it's tough to pay somebody and go, well, you know, you call them once.
Right, they look at it with a microscope.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to as far as I understand, but you have 58.
Yeah.
files.
Yes, sir, and we have more pending in the office, but I need to make sure that they're complete and all the paperwork is in there. Yes, sir.
So the
So,
58 haven't been processed through the judges. They've been turned in, but
Yes.
they haven't been finalized.
yes, ma'am. And like I said, I heard that they are receiving some to the right.
And like when we go through the process, through the flow chart. And they send their warning letter, the first one, the second one. Who maintains all this data? The campuses? Unless it gets to the final referral folder that maybe it comes to you.
Well, the final, the numbers, I mean,
Okay,
I have the list of who got filed on, sometimes, you gotta look at the kid and it's like. Improve. You know, after having 3 absences per week, he's only at 1 absence per week now.
so you know, they tell you like, you know what, I sent out 5 warning letters today, Mr. Gonzalez, and 7 tomorrow, whatever it is, but
It-
they communicate that information with you, so
Yeah,
you
so-
know all the time.
Yes, as like, for instance, we sent down 500 lost and credit letters. You know, and like I said, that means, you know, they might have 7. You know, and 7 is not bad. I mean, especially in the scheme of things where, you know, there's some kids with more. But I think we had 106 loss of credit letters sent out. And I mean, we're aware of the names and we have a list.
So out of the 58, going back to the 58. And I know those are the ones that have actually, you've submitted paperwork. Have the judges completed any of them?
Well, no, because the reason we're a little bit behind on that is remember October started. We were doing good, you know, we had already gotten things rolling. October started, it was flu. The flu, and it was on Channel 6 all over the country. And it was hard to meet with kids and, you know, prosecute them or you know, put any kind of pressure on them when the CDC is telling you don't have incentives. You know, it was on the website, you should not have any incentive to go to school right now. And so when we kind of got clear of that after 5-6 weeks, well, we were in the right middle of elections for JP, so we had new JPs coming in. We had 3 new JPs coming, and then they need to get trained, that happened in January. So we got, there was, some good back.
So are you recommending, HM King or any campus, or is it the, Playgroup School, I think it's the name of, the school? Cares. Is that, are you clear on what is taking place after they get to the judge of, going to Cares, or we going to HM King or back to Gillette, or?
Well, like I said, communicating with the judge, we'll look at, he'll look at some things, there might be a student that has, needs to be in quarter or GD, or he might just say, you need to go to school, or you're gonna, this is gonna happen. But there will, there'll be a fine, but, some kids that are on the rough end, it might be, you need to go to Cares, or you need to get quarter or GD. And they'll decide on that, and, like I said, I'll communicate with principals and see what they recommend as well. And, but the judges are the ones that you present them the information and you give them the grades. And they decide. And but they do look at a recommendation. Student might be 18 years old and doesn't look like he's gonna graduate. They're kind of not there, or he might say, sir, I think you need a quarter or GD. But then again, that's up to him.
Mr. Gonzalez, I've got a couple of questions. When we talk about the categories of the homeless or primary earner, we're required to offer some kind of counseling to those. Who do they get passed off to?
Well, of course, I communicate with Ms. Zimmerman, as Ms. Warren here. I communicate with Ms. Warren. And so if there's any kind of special cases, they're the first people I run to. They're down the hall and I go, guess what, I just got this information. So we communicate with whoever I think would help out the most.
And on the morning phone calls, does a call go to every student who's absent, or just your noted repeat offenders?
Well, basically, but whatever list comes out, whenever they print out the list, they start calling.
And it's a live call. It's a live call, not a robocall.
Not a robocall. The robocalls are a plus for us.
Gotcha.
And we, that was established a month ago. We're happy about those, because those are back up for us, that they are getting the information, they are getting called.
Have you, and I know we had 3 brand new ones, but have you had any resistance from the JP officers or the JP courts?
No, they're excited. Again, they were new, so there's some things that they didn't, they didn't want to break the law themselves, right? So they went through their training, we brought them in, we met, and we had already established them though, but when I met with the county attorney, he gave us, okay, but I want this. So we had to change some things around, and like I said, we've got complete files now for the, that were turned in. Again, they're getting someone's, the junior high kids are getting summoned already. And like I said, it'll start rolling pretty good here now.
Is it jurisdictional depending upon where the child lives or the school, or can you pick any JP?
I can pick any JP, but they're aware that I can pick any spot. And like I said, what I kind of want to do is like, okay, you kind of have 5, you kind of have 5, and I don't want to bombard them. I don't want to go, okay, you have 20 and this guy's don't have any. And that way they can go faster. And like I said, now that, we're kind of, we know who's available, we know who they are, they've been trained. We're gonna start going forward, I can go drop off them every day.
We just don't know what the remedies are gonna be at this point because they haven't prosecuted him, so.
Yes, sir. But we did have a Judge Gutierrez go to the junior high, and she walked the campus, met with me and Ms. Williams himself, and she was involved. She almost wanted to step back a little. Some kids were play fighting. She started. She does like she went up to them and said, "We're fine for playing. We shouldn't be doing that." So, but she did. They're excited about helping school out. Like I said, when we brought them for that roundtable, that was a plus for us. That was a plus for us because I think your son came in, commissioner, and like I said, they're excited. We just need to be able to work together, and that's one thing I wanted to do. Like get the community involved. Like a team thing. This is not just our attendance score. This is a team thing, a community thing. What do we number 1 attendance?
It really is, and there's another It's another area where having a concentrated person district-wide is very beneficial. In the jobs have been spread out between a lot of other people over the years, so I commend you on your work and good things are gonna come.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, board, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to item 6C, which is the budget recap report check register for February 2023. This can be found on page 32 to 40 of our packet. Dr. Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal, Dr. Petters, members of the board. I'm just gonna point out a couple of at the top of the check register, Great South Texas Corporation. Data backup services, that is an annual subscription fee that backs up all of our district data, HR, finance, student records. Raul Hernandez and company, he presented the audit. The audit is finished and we have paid him out. Pocket Nurse, that is, we added another program this year that had some upfront infrastructure costs in health services. So that's the reason for that expense. I will take any other questions you have on the check register.
Any questions? If not, thank you, Dr. Pitts.
You're welcome.
We will move now to item number 7, which is new business. Item 7A is by common consent, the board agrees to consider one action item the following. Now on page 41 to 46, the regular board meeting minutes of February 27, 2023, and the special board meeting minutes of March 7, 2023. Is there a motion to approve those?
So,
Motion made by Mr. Ruiz,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Morales. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Motion carries 7-0. Item 7B, discussion and possible action regarding memorandum of understanding between Right Start and Kingsville ISD. This can be found on page 47 to 52 of our packet. Dr. Benz.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. I just want to point out a couple of things on this MOU. If you look at Article 1, Section 1, Number 2, enrollment will be between 90 to 150 students each summer. And if you look right underneath it, Number 3, it says underprivileged. So those students are going to be identified, which we'll look at the next page that shows how they're identified. So there is a criterion that the students must be below a certain income level. If you look at number 6, it talks about the activities that the program will entail: physical activities, educational activities, guest speakers, exposure to various university departments in an effort to promote higher education. And finally, in number 7, the primary source for this program is Focus Foundation. So we're going to take a look at what our commitment is in just a second to this, but that's a basic summary of this summary program that will be is being proposed for June of this year. If you look at the next page, at the top, D, the budget and all other related expenses for the sole purpose of Right Start program will be funded by the Focus Foundation. So in the very next section, it talks about our responsibilities. Number 1 basically says we need to have vehicle insurance for our buses. And we already have that, so that's no additional cost to the district. If you look at number 2, we will be required to transport the students. We do have a plan for usage of buses and drivers in the summer. And finally, number 3 is one salary that will need to be paid of the education specialist. I'd like to point out number 8 of the next page. All salaries will be paid at the same rates for comparable positions during the current KISD summer school year. We do not want to compete with our summer programs, we want to pay the same rates as our summer programs so that our employees will not be detracted from going to our summer programs. So we want to keep that equitable and equal. Article 2 is just basically all the legal points that we need to include in all our MOUs. If we look at 1.12, it says that this agreement includes conditions for the 2023 program, and future summer agreements are negotiable and subject to change for future years. And finally, if you look at that paragraph right beneath that, the last two sentences says, the agreement may be terminated by either party for any reason with a 15-day written notice. Modifications to this agreement may be made with the written approval of all signatories below. At this point, I'll take any questions that you have.
Let me just put the Right Start program into context a little bit. This is a program that was done in Corpus Christi, Tamu-CC, Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, and the schools in Corpus Christi. I'm very familiar with the program coordinator because he was one of my coaches when I was a principal at an elementary years ago. And I know how successful the program was. He has now brought it to Tamu-K, Texas A&M University, Kingsville. And so since it is here, going to be here in Kingsville University, he reached out to us to say, we would love to have the Kingsville ISD students be involved in this. This program's been around for about 20 years at least, but it used to be the NYSP program. What was it? Youth Sports Program. What was it in for? Can't even remember now. Sorry. But NYSP program with Tamu-CC. So now it's going to be the Tamu-K program, and it's the Right Start is the name of the program. We met with them. We talked about somebody that may be a good fit for it. They would know our kids. And so Michelle Corrales, who is very heavily involved with the Special Olympics, we recommended her. She was thrilled to be recommended. And so she'll be the one working with them very closely. Yes, that's good. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely.
So if you look at it, there's very minimal investment of district resources. We're not using our facilities. The only things that we need to do is obviously have transportation, which we have buses, and we're going to be able to work it in conjunction with our summer school routes. So we may not even need additional personnel to do that. They could move right from one route to another, and then pay one salary. They're paying all the other salaries, or they'll at least reimburse us for all the other salaries. They will pay all the program costs. And it'll serve 90 to 150 underprivileged students for about 3.5 weeks in June this year.
Now, there is a sliding scale fee to participate, correct?
That is correct. Anywhere from $20 to $60, and that's based on the individual students' income levels of their family.
Do you know who the Focus Foundation is?
I do not.
We'll make sure we're not updating ourselves with some fringe.
We had our attorney look at this.
Yes, Mr. President, we did review this legal context, but I did not know the origin of the script. We can find out.
Paying for it.
As long as it's not associated with groups against Israel.
Cost of the district is going to be that education specialist, and then maybe like $20 a student.
Well, and that cost,
See, we don't even fund that.
right, that's the cost to the second
student.
and then buses as well, but again, that's gonna be minimal since it'll just maybe be an extra hour for the person that's already doing the summer school routes either, so very minimal cost to us.
And who's gonna screen the students as far as the qualifications for this? Is that gonna be at the campus level or?
That's gonna be them if you one of the points it says that they're gonna be, here you go, section 2, article 1, section 2.CR, Right Start will use the poverty guidelines set by the Health and Human Services Department to determine a middle fee, but it also says that they're gonna be the ones screening there too.
I see. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, we did talk about, what if some of these kids would be good candidates for summer school? Because, then we would look to see if they are close to, maybe they failed, but maybe by not that much. They did talk about them offering some programs like math and reading, where, okay, they're gonna be part of this program and we'll help them get some credit for summer school. So that way they don't miss out on something like this if they're a good candidate.
And it's from 9 to 3.
All right, any further questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ruiz, seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Yes, I didn't ask if there was anyone not in favor. I thought I said it. Item C, 2023-2024 new innovative courses, general employability skills and students to industry connection. It's can be found on page 3 of our packet. Dr. Bessimus.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Bettis, members of the board. We bring before you 2 new innovative courses for next year. Ms. Giebert, who's been spearheading this piece for our students next year, is here to just briefly review both of the courses.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Bettis, Superintendent, Board of Trustees. The general employability skills and the student to industry connections are 2 separate courses that offer not only state credit for graduation as electives, but can also go towards the career development endorsement. So these courses can be utilized and taught by either a CTE certified teacher or a special education certified teacher. And they can be taught to every single student in the entire school, or you can have them where they are specifically taught to students with disabilities. With that being said, Opportunity Now is a program that is funded through the Texas Workforce Commission. That program allows for them to come into our district, provide the teacher and all of the materials for 0 cost. And so all we have to do is provide the building, the classroom, and basically a teacher of record. That person would just be responsible to put in the students' attendance and their grades for that course. But the actual Opportunity Now would be responsible for everything else, lesson plans, teaching, and all of the students. And then what their requirement is about 30 students. That's what they would want in order to be able to come into our district and provide those services to our students. What that means is about a 6-to-1 ratio. So 6 students to 1 teacher. You can't really find that in any classroom, right? Especially in a high school, where you're going to have that type of teacher to student ratio so that those students can learn at a higher rate and have more of a hands-on and direct approach from a teacher. This teacher is also being provided training in what is called the PREETs. And I'm going to read it because it's an interesting acronym. So it is the Pre-Employment Transition Services. And these are the activities that are devised by the Texas Workforce Commission. There's 5 different areas. They will cover all of the TEKs that are associated with these 2 innovative courses that we have in front of you tonight. The general employability skills and the student to industry connections. These TEKs focus on those skills, that the prerequisite skills to be employable, but also independent living skills as well. So any questions?
Okay, so this is just gonna be 2 classes that we're adding, and it's gonna be 6-to-1.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's 2 courses. We can also offer it to the general population, and a special education teacher or a certified CTE teacher at that point can teach it. But for the 6-to-1 ratio and the Opportunity Now, the child would have to either have a medically diagnosed disability, be provided services through 504, or be provided services through special education program.
Okay, so. What are we? Thinking of doing for next year? Which route are we headed for next year? Are we gonna offer it to everybody, or these are gonna be spread across?
Special education,
So they're not gonna be for the general public,
not at this time.
they're special education.
So these students will be, it's gonna go through the high school, then their counselors are gonna be signing them up for these courses.
Yes, sir, it would be part of their personal graduation plan.
Okay.
Okay. I've got a question for this. It's sort of unrelated, but when we're talking about what is the student to teacher ratio? Is that figured out per class individually, or will these classes be averaged in with the other classes that we have? Lower our student to teacher ratio?
No.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, this would be separate because it wouldn't be FTEs that we're paying for.
Correct.
Who would this person that's coming in from the outside report to?
Opportunity Now, as well as the administrator on campus.
And you said something about a teacher of record, the grades and attendance,
Yes, sir.
and that would be one of our staff members.
That is correct.
As long as they're a certified teacher,
That is correct.
could be maybe a neighbor or somebody that's assigned to that.
We would prefer it to be a special education
Okay,
teacher, or somebody that was able to provide those services as well. Right, so part of this is transition services.
okay,
Through special education, we're required to provide transition services to any student with a disability. And so it comes into play with your CCMR, your college career military readiness programs. And so when we look at special education, we're looking at all of those aspects as well, but we have to create a plan. And we have to look at what our students need in order to be able to be as independent as possible once they graduate from high school. And these courses, CCISD is using Opportunity Now within their transition program, as well as Bishop and one other district. I apologize, I can't remember. It might be Robstown. No. Okay. I know there's one other district that's close to us that is also using Opportunity Now as a support for students with disabilities in the education field for career and employment.
And we kind of started looking at this also, and I commend Ms. Zimmerman and Ms. Gebert because of our growing population of special ed students. Also, many of those students are missing out on their CCMR credits. And before last year, we didn't even have an 18+ program. Now we've had an 18+ program. Now we're bringing this into for our students as well. So it's just continuing to look at how are we serving our special ed kiddos from the beginning to transition to a career. Also, it goes towards our graduation dropout, and they have mentioned, they being Opportunity Now with Sherry is the director. She has mentioned that it has improved other districts' dropout rates because it really shows how a student is employable. And they really truly work with, since they do have such a smaller case of students, 6-to-1 ratios, they really truly can work with those students on improving those skills and the students realizing how employable they truly are.
You know, when I read this and I glossed over and I didn't understand the special ed direction we were headed in here. I think that's fantastic. I think it really is fantastic. I would like to see this almost be a pilot program that we could then expand into the general population, because I think that in these two areas, there is some coverage for the general population also, but that may be down the road. But I think that this is, very innovative and that's what I'm excited. Are there any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the addition of these two courses?
I'll make a motion to approve the two additional courses.
Motion made by Ms. Salinas. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Morales. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. The board will now enter into closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to deliberate and consider the following. As you will recall, we had nine P.M. We now return to open session, take necessary action on matters which the board may discuss in open session. We are returning to open session at 8:04 p.m. Items A, B, and C were all tabled. Item D, discussion and possible action regarding potential real estate transaction. Fellow board members, I move that we authorize our legal representative to prepare a bid package for a potential real estate transaction as discussed in closed session.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Kupal, seconded by Mr. Glusing. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. There being no further business before this board, I declare this meeting adjourned at 8:05 p.m.